Hello and welcome back, my friends. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a growing experiment for you guys, a science project here in the garden. I'm going to be following this whole thing through and doing some updates as the plants begin to grow. And then I'll combine all the footage together in one video and present that for you in the future. So what I'm going to be doing is planting 3 longevity spinach plants in these similar containers here, using the same exact soil medium, just a store-bought potting mix. And what we're going to be doing here is testing out just how well putting some sardines underneath your planting affects the plants. So we're going to be doing this 3 different ways. We're going to plant 1 longevity spinach plant with no sardines in the bottom of the hole. The second one, we're just going to open up this can of sardines in water and plop it in the bottom of the hole and plant that way. And the third one, I'm going to actually drain the water and rinse off these sardines because there is some salt in there, and I know that's a concern for some folks. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to see where we end up in a month from now, maybe 2 months from now, see how the plants are doing. And that way there really is no question as to what method is giving you the best results. So this is just a can of sardines from the dollar store, so $1. They're in brine, just water with a little bit of salt. Okay, so for this first planting here, we will just do the whole can with the brine and sardines. Now, I share with you a technique I like to employ when trying to keep the smells down if you are burying a fish or sardines in your garden. That's to sprinkle some coffee grinds on top. But because we're doing kind of a science experiment here, we just are going to do it directly with the sardines. So here's the first plant. We got some nice root development here. And I will just dust a little bit of soil over the sardines there as well. Plop that plant in like that. Now the whole idea here is, as those sardines are breaking down, they're going to offer up some good nutrition to this plant here, an NPK value of around 411 for fish-based fertilizers, fish emulsion, and burying fish under your plant. That's 4 nitrogen, 1 phosphorus, and 1 potassium. All right, so I need to mark this first one. So I'm going to mark the date here, 25th of May, and then sardines with brine. Okay, now for the second planting, we're going to use the same can of sardines, but this time we're going to dump out the brine and rinse off the sardines, which will get rid of any excess salts. So we'll dump out the brine. Now we'll give it a good rinse. Optionally, you could let these soak a little longer and then pat them off with a paper towel. I really don't think that's necessary to prove which method is going to be the most beneficial. So there's still going to be a minute amount of salts on these sardines, but we did take the majority that was out in the brine and surrounding the sardines. So we'll plop those in. Once again, we got pretty much an exact, these cuttings were planted at the same time, so almost the exact same size of longevity spinach. And we'll plop that in. Longevity spinach is a heat-loving green that grows well in pots or in the ground. It can perennialize if you've got warmer climates like a subtropical climate. In temperate climates, areas like where we live here, where we do get down below freezing in the winter, It can still perennialize if it's planted in a nice spot of the garden, especially if you do a bit of mulching around the plant, maybe with some straw before winter hits. Otherwise, you can take cuttings and overwinter them in a greenhouse or in a windowsill indoors. Once again, I'll put the date: sardines without brine. And then lastly, we'll do a planting with no sardines at all. Again, we got a nice root development on this plant. Nice healthy plant to begin with here. No sardines. Now we'll just water these all in really well. Alright, so over time we're going to see which one of these plants ends up growing the best, and if any of them develop any issues, we'll also take note of that. Now, the main reason for me doing this, because we already know that using fish in the garden is beneficial for your plants, for your soil tilth, but a lot of folks may have concerns with the salt that's found in many of the cans of sardine. You can buy them with no salt as well, but usually if you're buying like a dollar store can of sardines, which is what makes this feasible, it's probably going to come in a brine with a salt. So I just want to make a point here, and that's that plants need a little bit of salt, as humans do, in order to survive. So a little bit of salinity is good. It's when there's too much salt that it becomes detrimental. You may have heard of folks making mixtures of salt and water, high concentrate, maybe putting some vinegar in there to kill weeds and kill plants. And so definitely that's something that can happen. You can dehydrate and hurt the plant when it's in high concentrations. But my belief is that the small amount of salt that's in a sardine can is not going to be detrimental to your plants, especially because it's not in high concentration. And as you're watering your plants, you're actually going to be flushing those nutrients and minerals out of the soil. So you're still going to get the benefits of the breakdown of the sardines and the fish, but at the same time, I don't think there's going to be any issue here. So that's what I'm expecting to see here, but we're going to find out for sure, so that I'm offering you guys proof and information here, so you can make your own decision as to whether or not you would want to apply the technique of burying a can of sardines in your garden. So I'm going to put these somewhere in the garden that gets part sun, part shade. These plants do like full sun, but because we just transplanted, we're going to give them part shade in the beginning here. Now, the only thing I'm going to be doing for these plants over the course of this whole experiment is watering them. I won't be adding any other type of fertilizer or anything like that. I may put some shade cloth over this area as well. It does get a lot of sun in the afternoon, just for the first week or so. But after that, we're just going to leave these plants as they be, and I'll be watering them daily. And like I said, we'll be doing some update videos and combining all that footage into one video for you guys. And so with that, that's going to conclude this first part of the video. I'll be back probably in about a month and do an update video and mend those two together, unless of course there's a development that occurs that needs me to film sooner than that. So with that, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 on this same video here. Alright, so here's an update. We are now 19 days after the original planting here, and you can see no sardines, still quite small. Sardines without the brine, doing well. Sardines with the brine, doing well. Both of these are obviously doing better than the no sardine. This plant was originally a little smaller, but still there's more vigor, more growth happening on these two with the sardines. So again, 19-day update. Plants are looking very healthy. I've been giving them a little water, equal water every day. That's it. So we'll check back again a little bit and continue to update you on this project. All right, everybody, well, we're back. It's now been a month. Actually, it's been a month and 2 days. Today is June 27th, 2020, and we planted these longevity spinach cuttings back on the 25th of May. And so now I think we've got sufficient evidence here to kind of show what sort of growth habit that we've achieved here, putting the sardines in the pot. So if you recall, this first plant here was planted the entire can of sardines with the brine, any salt liquid that was in there. The second plant here, we actually rinsed the can of sardines, so if there was any excess salts, we washed that away. And the third plant here did not get a can of sardines at all. So what I'm seeing here, hopefully the camera can pick it up, is these two plants have definitely put on a lot of vigorous growth. They're looking very healthy, both of them. I don't really see any difference whatsoever between the two. And I think what this ends up proving is that any small amounts of salts that are actually in a can of sardines are not going to be detrimental to a plant, because this plant had all the liquid and everything, and you can see it's very healthy. The leaves are bright green. All in all, very impressed with these two plants. Now this third plant here, I noticed when I was reviewing the footage that I saw it when I was actually planting, it was slightly smaller than these two, but they were all cuttings that I had rooted at the same time. That being said, the growth on this plant has been much slower than these two. So even though it started off slightly smaller, it's just not growing at the same rate. Hopefully you can see, it's a much smaller plant than these two at this point. So in the end, what I'm saying is sardines work. They're a great fertilizer. They have a NPK value that's going to help to feed these plants and feed the soil. This also shows that you can use this technique when you're growing in pots, so it doesn't have to be just into the ground. I wouldn't worry about any salts that are in this can of sardines. As you can see, the plant's very healthy, even with all the brine. And although we still got a healthy little longevity spinach here, it's a slower growth rate, so it's really up to you. I'm going to continue to use the sardines, and I just wanted to put this out there just to help people get a full, well-rounded idea as to different techniques that they can employ in their garden, save some money, grow the highest quality food. And so with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Have yourself a great rest of the day. Until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon. Let's try one of these. I love longevity spinach. Gynera procumbens.